The woods were alive, not with the sound of crickets or the distant hum of night birds, but with silence so thick it pressed against Grace's eardrums. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of moss and rotting leaves. Each step she took crunched against the forest floor, yet it felt as though the trees themselves were listening, bending in closer to catch her every breath. She clutched the diary to her chest, its leather cover slick from the moisture in her palms. It was warm to warm, as though it held a pulse of its own. A whisper, not from behind her, not from ahead, but all around. The voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It was like breath pressed against her ear, intimate and invasive. "You cannot leave." Grace froze. The words had not been spoken aloud. They shimmered from the open pages of the diary. Ink bled across the paper, curling into the same phrase over and over until the parchment was drenched in black letters. "You cannot leave. You cannot leave. You cannot leave." Her breath came sharp and ragged. She snapped the book shut, hugging it tight. But the words did not stop. They whispered inside her skull, circling like a chant. Somewhere deeper in the woods, a knock echoed. 3 sharp raps, hollow, like knuckles against wood. Her heart seized. A door. Here, the sound came again, closer this time. Knock, knock, knock. Grace stumbled backward, her heel catching a root, nearly sending her sprawling. The forest floor pulsed beneath her, the earth vibrating with each phantom knock. And then, between the trees, she saw him, the hooded man. His figure was a shadow against the already blackened night, his movements sharp, deliberate. His hoodie was streaked with mud, his hands red not entirely from dirt. His chest rose and fell, strained, as though he had been running. But his face, she couldn't see his face. The hood hung low, concealing everything but his mouth. And his mouth was curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Grace," he said, his voice low, hoarse. "It's starting." Her fingers tightened around the diary. "What's starting?" she whispered, though the sound barely left her lips. The hooded man stepped closer, the leaves not crunching beneath his feet. He moved too quietly, as though the earth itself feared making noise for him. "Don't believe what he shows you," he hissed. "Whatever he says, whatever face he wears, it isn't the truth." Who? A crack ripped through the forest, sharp as lightning split a tree. Grace flinched, spinning toward the sound, and when she turned back, the hooded man was gone. Only the echo of his voice remained, dissolving into the trees. Her knees trembled. She took one hesitant step forward, then another. The woods seemed endless, the path folding in on itself. No matter which direction she turned, the same gnarled branches clawed toward her. And then the air shifted, the silence fractured. A wet sound trickled from the shadows, a drip, 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 steady as a heartbeat. Grace's throat closed. Her hand crept upward, shielding the diary as though it were her only armor. When the figure stepped from the mist, she knew. It was him, the man from the rain. But he was different now. No storm clung to his skin, no rain-soaked clothes dripping onto the earth. He was dry, impossibly so, as though the night itself rejected touching him. His eyes locked on hers, steady, unblinking. "Grace," he murmured, his voice too calm, too steady. She staggered back, her breath shuddering. "Stay away," she whispered. He lifted his hands slowly, palms open, a gesture of peace. "I've never meant to harm you. I've been keeping them from you, keeping them from tearing you apart." Her pulse hammered. "Them?" He nodded toward the trees, his expression unreadable. "You've felt them, watching, waiting. They've always been there." But the diary, his gaze flicked downward, hunger flashing across his eyes before he caught himself. "The diary belongs to you. It chose you. Grace shook her head, retreating another step. I never wanted this. Want has nothing to do with it. His voice was soft, like rain sliding against glass. You can't run anymore. You were born to finish it. Her chest tightened. Finish what? He stepped closer. Too close. His presence radiated heat, an invisible pressure pressing her back. The prophecy, he said simply. Before she could speak, the diary in her arms vibrated, pages fluttering like wings, desperate to escape. She looked down. The book had opened on its own, ink pouring across the parchment in crimson strokes. Words formed slowly, deliberately. Tonight, Grace chooses. One lives, one dies. Her stomach dropped. She lifted her gaze, trembling. The man's face was serene, almost tender. It's not as frightening as it seems. Choice gives you power. Her lips quivered. I don't want power. I want peace. His eyes darkened. Then you must choose. Grace clutched the diary tighter, her breaths sharp and uneven. The woods closed in, the air suffocating. Shadows twisted at the edge of her vision, shapes shifting, faceless, whispering. No, she whispered, shaking her head. No, I won't. The diary pulsed. Her hand and her own hand began to move, dragging across the page. She screamed, resisting, her muscles straining, but her fingers clutched the pen that had not been there moments ago. Ink spilled across the parchment in jagged strokes, each word tearing from her soul. He dies tonight. The pen clattered to the ground. The forest erupted with thunder, the trees shuddering as if struck by an unseen storm. Grace fell to her knees, her chest heaving, eyes wide in horror. The man from the rain did not move. His gaze shifted past her shoulder, and when she turned, she saw him, the hooded stranger, on his knees, choking, blood dripping from his mouth. Grace's scream split the night. The hooded man convulsed in the dirt, his hands clawing at his throat as though invisible fingers strangled him. Blood bubbled at the corner of his lips, soaking into the soil beneath. His knees dug into the earth, his body writhing like a puppet on strings. No, stop. Grace dropped the diary, scrambling forward. I didn't mean it. I didn't. Her voice cracked, her hands trembling as she reached for him. But when her fingers brushed his hoodie, the fabric burned, searing her palm like fire. She recoiled with a cry. Behind her, the man from the rain remained still, his eyes gleaming with something she couldn't name. Not pity, not joy, something in between. You see now, he said softly, the diary doesn't lie. It doesn't bend, it fulfills. Grace spun toward him, her face streaked with tears. I didn't choose, it forced me. He tilted his head, stepping closer. And yet, the words came from your hand. Your will is stronger than you believe. That was your choice, Grace, not mine, not his, yours. The hooded man gagged, his body jerking once more before collapsing sideways, unmoving. Grace staggered backward, her heart hammering. The forest tilted around her, the trees stretching tall, their branches like skeletal arms. I killed him, she whispered. Dear God, I killed him. The man from the rain stepped nearer, his shadow swallowing hers. You gave him release. That is mercy. Grace shook her head violently, clutching her hair. No, this is evil. This is. Her words cut off, because the diary was glowing. It lay open on the ground where she had dropped it, its pages pulsing with a dull red light. Slowly, slowly, the letters began to shift again, reshaping themselves into new words. Her stomach twisted as she read them. The choice is not complete. One lives, one dies, the other waits. Grace's knees buckled. She staggered closer, staring at the page as the letters seared themselves deeper into the parchment. What does it mean? She whispered. The man from the rain crouched beside her, his eyes flicking toward the glowing text. His jaw tightened. It means there's more. There is always more. Grace's eyes darted back to the hooded man. His body was still, lifeless. And yet her breath froze, his fingers twitched. No, she whispered, slowly, impossibly. The hooded man's chest rose. Shallow, ragged breaths rattled through his throat. His lips parted, and a whisper slithered out, almost inhuman. Not finished. Grace stumbled backward, horror freezing her limbs. The man from the rain rose calmly, his presence towering. Do you see now, Grace? Death is not the end. Not for him, not for me, and not for you. Her head spun. The diary pulsed brighter, casting blood-red light across their faces. Her own reflection in its pages looked twisted, distorted, her eyes blackened like pits. I don't want this, she cried. I never wanted any of this. But the forest answered with silence. Then, a sound, not from the hooded man, not from the one in the rain, from the trees, a chorus of whispers, overlapping, rising and falling like waves crashing against a shore. Dozens of voices, hundreds, all murmured the same words in unison. Grace, Grace, Grace. Her blood ran cold. She spun wildly, the trees bending inward, their bark splitting, eyes opening within the wood itself, eyes that blinked and wept sap like tears. The man from the rain didn't move. His calm presence seemed almost inhuman against the chaos. They're calling for you, he said. The ones who came before, the ones who waited. You are not the first, Grace, and you will not be the last. Her hands shook as she clutched her chest, breath tearing from her lungs. What are you saying? What am I? The man from the rain's gaze softened. He stepped closer, reaching out gentle, almost tender, to brush his fingers against her cheek. You are the chosen, the diary's keeper, the bridge. Grace flinched, jerking back from his touch. Chosen for what? His eyes darkened. To finish the prophecy. Her pulse thundered in her ears. The hooded man coughed weightily behind her, his body twitching as though pulled by unseen wires. The whispers in the woods grew louder, their chorus a relentless chant of her name. And then the diary shifted again. This time, the words scrawled themselves in violent strokes, tearing into the page with fury. The blood moon rises. The sacrifice is near. Grace's head whipped upward. Through the canopy of trees, the night sky burned red. The moon had turned, glowing like a wound across the heavens. The forest erupted. Figures emerged between the trees, dozens of them, faceless, cloaked in shadow, their forms bending and twisting unnaturally as they advanced. Grace stumbled backward, her heart hammering. What are they? She gasped. The man from the rain's voice was steady, almost reverent. The Watchers, they come when the blood moon calls. They come for the sacrifice. Her throat tightened. Sacrifice? His eyes met hers, unwavering. The diary has chosen. One lives. One dies. And you, Grace, you decide who. Her scream ripped through the woods. The rain had stopped, but its ghost lingered in the dripping gutters, in the wet pavement that gleamed under the streetlight like glass. I stood there, my breath fogging, my hands trembling, his words still burning in my ears. You belong to me now. I wanted to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. My legs wouldn't move. I was pinned between two terrors, the hooded stranger, faceless and ominous, and him, the man I couldn't decide if I loved or feared. The hooded stranger's voice was low, calculated, almost patient. You're writing too much, Grace. You've already seen more than you should. Do you want your parents to die too? That word too. My stomach turned cold. My parents. Why mention them? He took a step toward me, his boots leaving wet stains on the rug. That's when I noticed his hands were gloved, but trembling slightly, as if he wasn't as calm as his tone suggested. And then my killer spoke. "Leave her out of this." The stranger turned his head, slowly, like a predator distracted. The room pulsed with tension. I thought they might attack each other right there in my living room, while I stood frozen like prey. But instead, the hooded man laughed. It was soft, but it felt like broken glass dragged over my skin. "See, inches already in it. You dragged her here." The killer's jaw tightened. His eyes flickered to me, and for a brief, searing second, I saw something that terrified me more than violence itself. Regret. Then, without warning, the hooded man grabbed my diary from the table, tearing out a handful of pages and crumpling them in his fist. "This ends now, or I tell them everything." Them. Who was them? My knees buckled. I had to sit, clutching the edge of the couch. My voice finally cracked free, a trembling whisper. "What are you talking about? Who are you?" He looked at me then, not like a man warning someone, but like a messenger delivering a curse. "You don't get to ask questions, church girl. You only get to obey." And just as quickly as he'd come, he was gone, slipping out the door, his shadow vanishing into the night like smoke. I was left with him, the man who haunted my nights, my prayers, my trembling hands. For a long time, silence filled the room, broken only by the tick of the wall clock and the sound of water dripping from his hair onto the floor. Finally, I found my voice. "Tell me the truth now." He didn't answer right away. He paced once, twice, then stopped in front of me. His hand reached out as if to touch me, but he pulled back at the last second. His voice was low, but it shook. "You weren't supposed to be part of this." "Part of what?" My chest tightened. "What are you hiding from me?" I pressed, louder now, anger pushing past my fear. "Who are they? Why do they know about me?" He shut his eyes. For a second, I thought he might confess everything, but instead, he turned away. "You wouldn't understand." "Not yet." That answer ignited something inside me. I shot to my feet, tears stinging my eyes. "You think I haven't seen enough. You show up in the rain. You whisper things that choke me in my sleep. Strangers break into my house, and you think I don't deserve to understand." His hand slammed against the wall suddenly, inches from my face. The sound rattled through me. "Grace, you don't know what you're asking for." But I held his gaze, trembling but defiant. "Then make me know." The air between us burned, and for the first time, he broke. His voice cracked. "I never wanted to hurt you." Silence. My heart thudded. "Hurt me?" Past tense, not future. "What did you do?" My voice was barely audible. He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something from his jacket pocket and set it on the table. A small photograph, folded and worn. I picked it up with shaking hands. The picture showed a girl, maybe 16, bright-eyed, smiling. She looked familiar somehow, though I couldn't place her. "That's my sister," he said, his voice hollow. "She's gone because of them, and now they've marked you too." The walls seemed to close in. His sister? Gone? My mind spun with questions. But before I could ask, he grabbed my shoulders, his grip desperate. "You have to trust me, Grace, even if everything looks wrong. Even if you start to hate me." I swallowed hard, staring into his eyes. I should have run. I should have screamed. Instead, I nodded, slowly, though my soul was screaming with confusion. He exhaled, releasing me. "Good, because soon they'll come again. And when they do, you'll have to choose." The following days blurred into unease. At church, I found myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting the hooded man to emerge from the pews. At night, I kept my windows locked, my curtains drawn, my diary hidden. But the dreams didn't stop. One night, I dreamt of blood pooling on the church altar. Another, of faceless figures chanting my name. Each time, I woke with my heart pounding, only to find a shadow outside my window, or sometimes him, watching silently, as though guarding me. And then came the envelope. It arrived 3 days later, slipped under my door without a sound. No address, no name, just my diary's missing pages. And a single note in jagged handwriting. If you want to live, stop writing. My hands trembled as I held it. The words bled into me like poison, but I couldn't stop. Writing was the only thing that kept me sane. I clutched my pen tighter, and with every word I wrote, I felt the eyes on me growing heavier. The breaking point came on a Wednesday night. I had stayed late after choir practice, helping stack chairs. Everyone else had gone home, the church echoing with silence. As I stepped outside, the cool air kissed my skin, and the parking lot stretched empty. Except it wasn't empty. At the far corner, leaning against the street lamp, was the hooded man. My blood froze. I turned to run back inside, but the church doors had locked behind me. "Grace," he called, his voice carrying easily through the night. "Come, to come. You don't belong here anymore." I shook my head, backing away slowly. "What do you want from me?" He tilted his head like a wolf studying prey. "It's not what I want. It's what he promised." He, did he mean him? Before I could respond, another voice cut through the night. A voice I knew too well. "Leave her alone." My killer stepped from the shadows, his presence filling the space like fire. The hooded man chuckled, shaking his head. "You can't protect her forever. She already knows too much, and when the others find out." He trailed off, letting the threat hang like a noose. My killer's fists clenched. "Then I'll burn them all down before they touch her." The hooded man grinned, the streetlight casting his smile in eerie relief. Spoken like a man who's already doomed her. And then, in one swift motion, he pulled something from his pocket, a small object glinting in the light, and tossed it at my feet. I bent down slowly, my heart hammering. It was a locket. Old, tarnished, engraved with a single word, Grace. I stared at it, my breath caught in my chest. Why would my name be on it? When I looked up again, the hooded man was gone. But the question remained, heavy as stone in my hands. How long had they known me? The killer stepped closer, his face pale, eyes hard with something that wasn't fear, it was dread. "Don't keep that." I swallowed. "Why?" His answer came like a death sentence. "Because it belonged to someone who died because of me." To be continued.